Hello YouTube. What we have here is a lawnmower. It's actually a really nice lawnmower that's been sitting in the barn for 5 years. Obviously it won't start. So we're going to try to get it started, but first we're going to give it a final cleanup here. And we'll scrub it down a little bit. And we'll rinse that off. So let's get that inside and get a fan running on it to dry it off. We have the victim on the operating table underneath the operating light. And the first thing we'll do is we'll get rid of the bad gas in the tank. No gas in the mouth. Okay, that's as much as we're going to siphon out. Let's follow the air cleaner to the carburetor. You need a 9/32 for the shiny screws. And you need a 15/16 for the dull screws. And we can pull this off. The next thing we got to do is get this gas line off. So we go in here and get this clamp and slide it back on the hose. And now we got to try to take the gas line off. So here's the nipple that I took the gas line off. The next thing we want to do is take a photograph of these rods and springs so we can make sure that we get them back in the right position. Now we wiggle the carburetor off. With the carburetor off, we can get the rods out of the levers on top of the carburetor. It takes a 9/32 wrench to take the carburetor apart. Take a screwdriver and pry the bowl off. There we go. Bunch of gas in there. And here are the jets. Now we can take a small screwdriver and insert it underneath that little nipple there and pry up gently, and the main jet should come out like so. So I don't see anything clogging it up. These parts are very cheap. You can get them off of Amazon. I'm just going to clean this up and put it back in, just to see if it's not that hard to get to. So I'm just going to clean it up and put it back in. These parts aren't too dirty, but what we'll do is take a little glass cleaner and spray them up. Take a soft brush, take a microfiber towel and wipe it off. And the part's like brand new. Again, on these parts, I don't have a new air cleaner, but this one looks like it's brand new. I'm just going to blow it out with some air. And I can see light through there. There's nothing wrong with that air filter. Now for the carburetor, I'm going to use WD-40. Oops, we don't want that pin to come out. Same treatment for the jets. It's time to put the carburetor together, and it's actually pretty simple. The main jets just slide in, and they only go in one way. See, they won't go in that way, but they go in this way until they click. Then we take the ball. There's a recess in the cap right here, and there's a little nipple on the side of the jets. That little nipple has to go into the recess that's in the cap, and it'll only go on one way. If you try to put it on the other way, it won't go on. So now we're down and we need to put our bolts in. We'll take the 9/32 socket and tighten our bolts in on the bowl. It's really nice to have all these O-rings so that the gaskets don't get destroyed. And you just put it back together. And our carburetor is assembled. While we're here, let's take a look at the spark plug and get the boot off. And this takes a 5/8 socket. Well, it's certainly got a lot of soot on it. I don't have a new plug, but what I'll do is I'll clean it up in the sandblaster, make sure I have no sand stuck down in there, and we'll put this back in. Here's the spark plug after cleaning in the sandblaster and being blown out so there's no sand down in there by the ceramic. This is what's called a compression ring spark plug. And this little ring right here is meant to be compressed when you go into the head. And it's really a one-use spark plug. You should never reuse a spark plug. But I don't have a new one, so I'm going to put it back in just to see if this is going to run. I'm going to put a little anti-seize on the threads. And we'll thread that back in. And put the spark plug wire back on. And make sure that we hear a click on the connector on the top of the spark plug. Like that. You guys kept a picture, right, of how these rods go. I think this is going to be the most difficult part of the reinstall. This rod right here in the back goes in the back on the carburetor, so I think we'll put that one in first. And that's the easy one. This next one's a little more difficult, and it has to go in the hole on the top of the carburetor, like so. We compare what we have. We got the rod in the back, hooked in the back. We've got the rod on the top, coming across the top, and we've got the spring hooked up and underneath this lever. So we've got it back in. Now we just wiggle the carburetor back over its O-ring. With the carburetor in, what we need to do is put the base plate for the air cleaner in. And there's a hose right here that we want to go on this nipple on the back of the base plate. And if you put it in here, you can kind of gently line it up and get your fingers in here and push that onto the nipple. Okay, now once we've got that on, we need to line up the base plate with the holes. We'll take our 9/32 bolts and set them into the holes and run those in. And we'll take our 5/16" bolts and run those in. And we'll take our air filter and put it on, and we'll put the cover on. Don't forget to hook up your gas line from the gas tank to the carburetor, otherwise when you fill your tank you're going to have a real mess. We'll put some gas in. Oh, that should be enough for the trial. It's full. Here we go. That's one. That sounds pretty dead. That's dead. There's something else wrong. It looks like it's soaked with gas to me. So the one thing I didn't check was spark. So I think we'll check that now. I'm going to pull it over slowly the first time.
Yes, you have spark.
Alright, I'm going to pull it over hard now.
You have spark.
I don't think the problem is spark, because we do have spark. We have a leak here, and it's coming out of the carburetor, and I think maybe we got a stuck float and we're flooding the mower out. So we're going to have to take this apart again and maybe I'll order those jets and reassemble. Last you saw, the carburetor was mounted to the motor. I've taken the carburetor off and taken it apart, and what we found was this pin right here on the float had come unlodged, and the float was stuck in the open position, and the carburetor was just flooding out. And now what we're going to do is put it back together and see if we can start it this time. We've got the carburetor bolted back together, and you can hear the float bouncing up and down, so I don't think we'll have a stuck float this time. Let's get it done. We have it all put back together. We didn't forget to put the fuel line on. We're going to put it on the ground and see if it'll start. Just for the grins of it, we'll check the oil, and it's right up to where it should be and nice and clean.
Of course, you're definitely using a New York State approved gas can.
Yep.
Video evidence to the contrary notwithstanding.
I'll give that gas a little time to flow down into that carburetor. Let's see if it'll start. Well, kind of sounded like it wanted to start. How about that? So I think we accomplished what we set out to do. If you enjoyed this video, there'll be more.